One of the first things you notice when you go to the World War II Museum in New Orleans is how big the place is, how many different buildings there are, and how much there is to see. The Road to Berlin is one of the more well-known exhibits taking you through the Allied invasion of Europe and that theater. But now, right upstairs, there is the Road to Tokyo. And the Road to Tokyo is made up of 10 different exhibits which take you through the very beginning of the war to the end of the war. You're going to find yourself in New Guinea. You're going to find yourself over the Himalayas, in Burma, in the island hopping through Iwo Jima, all the way to the firebombing and the atomic bombs that were dropped in Japan. It focuses not only on the strategies that the Allies took, but also the strategies that the Japanese employed. It takes you through the major battles, it takes you through cultural differences, the logistical challenges, and it is filled with artifacts, including a shark-faced P-40 Warhawk. You're going to be able to get a personalized dog tag. There are oral histories, recreated environments, short films. It is incredible. So let's take you through the 10 different exhibits really quickly, and then before you know it, you're going to be going to the website down below and getting your tickets. The first exhibit, a huge visual display on the screen, the Road to Tokyo, facing the rising sun, really witnessing Japan's imperialistic moves on the big map prior to, of course, the big day, December 7th, 1941, the Pearl Harbor attack. We declare war on Japan. 4 days later, everything changes again with Germany and Italy declaring war on the United States. We're really introduced in this first exhibit to the leaders on all sides, and then really to the beginnings of what's going to be the strategical and logistical challenges of fighting a two-front war. In the second exhibit, Briefing Room, Japanese Onslaught, you walk onto a replica of a bridge on the USS Enterprise. It is breathtaking. You're going to be introduced to the key 9 military leaders on both sides, as well as being introduced to the U.S. strategy of a two-front attack on Japan, not only using the U.S. Navy to make a beeline through the Central Pacific, but also that southwest corridor, New Guinea, the Philippines. And you're also going to witness those early Japanese victories, including Singapore and the Philippines, and the treatment that occurred to the American POWs in the Philippines. As you walk off the USS Enterprise, you walk into the third exhibit, a new naval warfare, which focuses on aircraft carriers and submarines. You have to remember that we lost most of our battleships at Pearl Harbor, so this is going to be the way to go. The exhibit focuses not only on what life was like on these aircraft carriers, which is extensive and incredibly fascinating, but also on the warfare, including the Doolittle Raid, the Coral Sea Battle, and Midway, of course. You're going to get to see on these humongous screens what it was really like as you watch the planes take off. The fourth exhibit focuses on Guadalcanal, a green hell, and you are literally walking through the jungle as you go through this exhibit, focusing on what the warfare was like when you launched these amphibious assaults, these D-days on all of these islands, the hunger and the mosquitoes and the heat, and what it was like to fight a relentless Japanese enemy. And Guadalcanal proved to be the first time that the Allies are going to gain a foothold in the Pacific as we make our way to Tokyo. Pacific Theater challenges fighting in the tropics. That's the fifth exhibit. And as you walk out of Guadalcanal, you literally walk into a recreated rice hut where you're going to learn all about the different challenges that these soldiers faced, including disease, which killed more Americans than gunfire did, as well as the nurses and the medics and the chaplains and the Seabees that laid all the groundwork of infrastructure like airports and roads for the coming invasion. Island hopping, footholds in the Pacific, and you literally walk onto a recreated beachhead of Tarawa, which really gives you the idea of what these soldiers were walking into. Now that the Seabees have laid down the groundwork of infrastructure, now we can land our B-52 bombers as we get closer and closer to Tokyo. And it's this island hopping strategy that is going to be successful at the end of the day. One of the more visually stunning pieces of the exhibit is the second front, the CBI. That's China, Burma, and India. And you're met with three humongous video panels, and suspended in the air is a replica of a P-40 Warhawk. On those three panels, you see all of the routes that the Americans had to take to keep supplying China in the Sino-Japanese War. You have to remember that this was tying up the Japanese. More than 40 army divisions and 1 million men were committed to fighting the Chinese rather than fighting us in the Pacific. On those video panels, you're going to see the Himalaya Mountains, which we had to fly over. This is a humongous piece of this war that in many cases gets overlooked. Returning to the Philippines, you know I'm talking about Douglas MacArthur. The Philippines, an American Commonwealth dating back to the Spanish-American War, was taken by the Japanese. MacArthur and the United States, we want it back, and we're going back. The Gulf of Leyte battle, the biggest naval battle in World War II. There's artifacts from the battleship Nagato in the exhibit, as well as the ruins of Manila. Recapturing the Philippines is going to become a turning point in this war as we march to Tokyo. Well, march in the war. The ninth exhibit is Death at Japanese Doorstep, the first assault on Japanese soil. The last two D-Days, Okinawa and Iwo Jima, proved to be some of the most fierce fighting in world history. The Japanese had built extensive underground defense tunnels and caves, which are realistically portrayed in this part of the exhibit. You also learn about all of the Medal of Honors that were given out, 27 at Iwo Jima alone, and you're introduced to the Navajo code talkers who played a pivotal point in this part of the war. As you walk into the last exhibit, you realize that Downfall Endgame against Japan is a different piece of this exhibit. The music is much more somber and reflective as you watch on the humongous video screens what occurred at the end of the war, including the firebombing by United States forces of hundreds of Japanese cities. And you are faced with the same decision that Harry Truman had to make, which is dropping the 2 atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end the war earlier. At the end of the day, coming down to the point that the continuing firebombing of cities and a land invasion by American forces would have been much more deadlier, which have cost the United States and Japan much more human life. So as you walk out of that final piece, you see on the TV screens there the surrender signing on the USS Missouri, and you really are filled with history. It's somber, it's reflective, it's powerful, it's exciting, it's what everybody who loves history loves. So next time you're in New Orleans, you best be checking out the World War II Museum. Check out the Road to Berlin, which is fantastic and deserves its own video in its own right, but that road to Tokyo, it'll shake you to your boots. So follow your NOLA, go to New Orleans. If you're a social studies teacher, take all the kids. Every American, heck, every world citizen should see the road to Tokyo. So we'll see you guys next time that you press my buttons. I always say it, I'm going to say it now, where tension goes, energy flows. We'll see you next time that you press my buttons.